Now let's get into money management. I made a promise essentially that this is the most critical element to making money. Now let's talk about why it's so important. How many shares should I purchase? I find that a lot of people don't really think through the process very well a lot of times. They just willy-nilly it. They just say, well, I'm going to buy 100 shares of this and 100 shares of that and so forth. Well, you shouldn't just go out there and buy some random amount of shares. There's a better way. Perhaps the best question is, how much money am I willing to risk in each trade that I take? Now, risk, how much you can lose, is different than your position size. I could buy $20,000 worth of a stock, but keep a stop loss to make sure that I only lose $200 if I'm wrong, right? That's why we use a stop loss. We're not risking all of the money we put in a trade. We put in a stop loss to risk a small portion of that. So don't think that your risk is your position size. It is not. First question is, how much am I willing to lose per trade? Okay? There's an answer to this that each one of you should come up with, but it differs from person to person. Let me show you how most professional traders do this. They say, well, I'm going to normalize risk. That means I'm going to create equality throughout my trades by setting my risk at a predetermined dollar amount. Now, what is that number? Well, maybe for you it's risking $100 per trade. Maybe for you it's risking $500 per trade. Maybe for you it's risking $50. I mean, I don't know what the number is, but you want it normalized. Because why in the world would you want to risk a ton in one trade and next to nothing in another? You believe in those trades equally. If you go out and take 10 trades, which one do you like? Well, the answer is all 10 of them. You wouldn't take a trade that you don't like, right? So it's like picking children. You should love all of them equally, right? Essentially, you love all of your trades equally. That's why you're taking these darn trades in the first place. So why risk a lot in one of them and very little in the other? It doesn't make any sense. So most professional traders say, okay, I'm going to predetermine how much I'm willing to risk, and I'm going to do it based on a percentage. This is my loss limit exposure. And most professionals keep it in the neighborhood of 2% of their capital. So 2% is a ballpark figure. You could say 1% is right, you could say 3% is right, but whatever, somewhere in that neighborhood. 2% of total capital means this. If you had $100,000 to trade, 2% is $2,000. If you have $20,000 to trade, 2% is $400. So you see that the person with more money risks more. The person with less money risks less. However, they both risked exactly 2% of their portfolio in the trade. What if you have $10,000 to trade? 2% is $200. What if you have $5,000? 2% is $100. What if you have $2,500? Then 2% is $50. I don't care how much money you have. I care that you're working in percentages. I always tell people that this is an important concept. You don't have as much money today as you're going to have in the future. But the good news is you're going to be a better trade in the future than you are today. So your money grows with your knowledge. So, take it, you start slow. Most people, unfortunately, they don't start with millions and millions of dollars. You start wherever you're at. And you say, well, I wish I had more money, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. And you start with what you think is just a measly little sum. But you start trading well. And then you add money to that from your employment, and you save up money, and you pass on that extra serving of KFC and that extra taco at Taco Bell, and you start saving that extra money, and pretty soon your funds are growing. And 5 years down the road, you say, you know what, I am a lot smarter at this than I was 5 years ago. I've learned things. My education levels have gone through the roof. My understanding and expertise has skyrocketed. I've seen scenarios like this before. I now have experience in the markets. And now you look over there at your trading account, it's pretty big size. And you go, you know what? Now I'm not only doing better percentage returns, but I have more money to trade. So in terms of trading, I mean, very, very important that you keep your loss exposure small to a small percentage, because the first rule is never, ever have one trade be very important. If one trade is important to you, it's because you screwed up. Okay? If one trade becomes make or break for you, you've royally screwed up. Every trade should be seemingly insignificant because they're all just these small, 2% risk numbers. Some are going to work, some aren't, but over time you build profitability. If possible, we also like to keep our position sizes to 10 to 20% of capital, meaning, and this is easier to do with bigger accounts, meaning if you had 100 grand in your account, here's the basic breakdown. You have a $100,000 trading account. You try to keep your position size to 10,000 to 20,000 max, meaning you wouldn't buy more than $20,000 worth of a single stock, so that you're not, putting too much of your eggs in one basket. But your risk, even though you buy $10,000 worth or $20,000 worth of a stock, you're going to have a stop loss so that you're risking only 2%, which is 2 grand of 100,000, right? Small percentage. If the trade works, you make 4 grand. If a trade doesn't work, you lose 2 grand. That's good trading. That's a good approach to it.